guys, my name's Michael,
And I'm Paula.
and we are
The
the
DeRogers.
DeRogers. So we are bringing bringing you guys knowledge, wisdom, understanding from a perspective of a father,
And a mother.
a husband,
And a wife.
and best friends. If some of you have just started watching our videos, we are a couple. We have 3 kids. We're married for 6 years this year.
7 years this year.
You're right, because Abby's turning 6. Whoops. And we are starting this journey, and today is a big topic of understanding why we're doing these videos. It's kind of, we want people to know who we are, and just to give kind of our perspective on things that we've been through, things that we're going through, and to help other people who may, don't feel like they have a voice for it, or feel like there's not a lot of people out there that are similar to this situation. That's kind of where I think we were for a while until we were able to.
It's our dog.
Sorry, that's our dog.
She's
Drinking.
lapping the water.
Lapping. So today is kind of our journey and us. And if you guys see me looking over some, it's because I have to have notes, or I can get very rabbit trail. Yeah, that's the word. And so with our journey, it's also about our hurdles, some things we've overcome, some things that we're going through. And so I just want to jump straight into it. So one big thing when we talk about hurdles and talk about things that we're overcoming, we've had, so I'm looking forward. We've had different hurdles, but we've also had different things that have helped us through those hurdles, I think is what I'm trying to get at. And one of the big ones for me right now is I watch a lot of Gary Vee, to be honest, Gary Vaynerchuk, and I know you have read
Rachel Hollis's books. I'm just about done with her second one. Her first one is Girl Wash Your Face. Yeah, and her second one is Girl Stop Apologizing. And she's just kind of the first person that I really was inspired by, because she was really open and honest in her first book. And so yeah, that really helped me.
So those are 2 things that we've really helped us at the moment. But really where we started, just kind of, I think, give it back, so I think that'll help a little more, is we met at a church that we used to go to, and we were friends there for quite a while. She couldn't stand me, which was kind of funny. And then it's really like I'm not going to go way into the story because it's super long. I'll maybe do like a video separate by myself of that. But we were friends for a long time, and then finally about our second year of college, before our second year of college, if I'm correct, the idea of dating started to kind of come around. And
we first met when you were 16 and I was 17.
And you were 17.
Yeah.
And so we had known each other for a long time. She kind of got to know and see some of the things that I struggled with majorly due to being raised by just my mom. And I was able to see maybe some things that she dealt with because she's more inward. And that's not a bad thing. It's just she's more to herself. She gets energy from being alone. And I'm more extroverted. I like being around people. And I get energized by that. And so we met there. We got married in October 20th of 2012. I got the dates down. And then we had our first kid, and we're pregnant that February. Well, end of January, right?
Yeah, we were married 3 months.
Because
and
we went on
I found
honeymoon.
out I was pregnant.
Yep, we went on honeymoon in December instead of right when we were married because it was cheaper during Christmas. That's another story we can tell later. That's a really good one. And so we jumped into this thing, and a little bit kind of farther back from that, because my mom raised me, there are a lot of things that I went through as a kid that I wasn't able to get the education, hard knocks education, I think is the best way to put it, and how to handle money very well and things like that. We weren't, like when we first got together, we weren't like big spenders. We didn't just waste our money, but we really didn't know what it was to plan for our goals, to plan for our dreams. We really didn't have goals and dreams other than, like, in my opinion, for me, I didn't. It was get married, have kids, and have a good life and make money. But it was so vague that it didn't allow for growth. So my goals and dreams were very minimal due to the amount of failure that I had seen growing up. Due to people's decisions. And then for you, I know you had goals.
Yeah, well, and to back up a little bit, I think at the time, like, the goals that you're talking about are big goals. Like, there's nothing wrong. And, as a teenager, all you look for, hopefully, at least I can speak for myself, is going to college, getting a career, and getting married and having a family.
I didn't even think about college.
Now that we've achieved well, most of those goals.
Well,
It's like there's a plateau. It's like, okay, well, I'll just speak for myself. So like my goals were, I finally found out my junior year of high school that I wanted to be an art teacher. So I pursued that. So I went to college. I finished college. I got my bachelor's degree, and I worked, and there's a lot of story in between that because I stayed at home after having 2 kids, and then I got pregnant again, and I went back to work. But now I'm with the age group that I want to be with, and I feel like I've reached my goal. Like, I am where exactly I want to be as far as a career. And so I think that those are great goals to have, but it's easy to plateau. And like, for instance, like I'm 30 years old, I've reached my goal. So
What's
did I
next?
stop there?
Well,
Not
and
that that's bad.
no, but
there's
I didn't
growth.
have. You had a goal of what you wanted to do, and you're still affecting that in a sense. Like, you're still having goals inside of teaching.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But for me, I didn't have a clue what I wanted to do. I went to school because my mom wanted me to go, and me and my mom we talked about this actually. You know, and she not apologized, but she said she didn't know that was just the thing. Go to college. You know, it's just that was
Yeah.
the thing, and so she had sent me to college, and so I didn't even have a desire to do what I was doing fully because I wasn't doing it for me. I was doing it for my mom, and so my goals were just like I didn't have them really. And so now by doing like, you know, this journey that you guys are getting to see about us is me really figuring out what I want to do, and I'm starting to fall in love with video editing a little bit, content creation and things like that. And I did graphic design in college, but it really wasn't for me. It was just doing it because like I really didn't know clue why it was other than it's a good paying job supposedly when you get out of college. But you have to be good at it still. Like, and I'll be honest, I was lazy. I needed to get my ass off the couch, and I didn't. Like, my grades were not great. I just wasn't a school person. But by doing stuff like this, it's for me to give to somebody or to give to them, or
Yeah.
So it's a little different. It's not me making artwork for a teacher who gives us a certain project who I have no
Yeah.
emotion in.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So that's kind of like the dream side. So now I'm figuring that out. She's made a lot of goals. Like, she's going to Europe in June, which is amazing. And she hit that goal, and now she's getting to do that. She wants to still travel more. Another goal of ours is to buy financially free, which we talked a little bit about in our last video. We want to set up things for our children so that they have the ability to grow their dreams, and some of our dreams don't require money. It's, being a good parent, being there for our children and showing love, and our goal is to communicate better, those types of things. But I think in our generation, our society, a lot of times it's what is your goals and dreams of career, and that's kind of where I am in a sense. I'm, where I'm working at now, I don't hate, but it's not something I'm in love with, and so that's a little bit like, I think that helps kind of set a little bit of a plateau of a structure. I like to make up words, I'll be honest, sometimes that don't go where they should go.
But it's okay.
So some of those hurdles for me that we had to learn was knowing where we were. Like, first start out knowing where you are, like where we are, like what can we pursue? And it's minimal as much as we want to be because we have kids. We have debt now because of certain decisions we made. We decided to go to college, so we have student loan debt.
We both went to private colleges.
I didn't even finish, and I still owe as much as she does. And then we have some credit card debt due to some financial situations we came into, and also because we weren't the best stewards of our money. We weren't horrible. We've always paid everything on time.
Yeah.
We definitely recommend that. Pay your stuff. But we had to learn where we were, and so now we understand where we are, and we're okay with that, but we're not wanting to stay there. And then the next part, especially I'm sure you can explain what Jason helped us understand of knowing where you want to go and planning. You know what I'm talking about?
How about
You know your
read off?
destination, and then you work.
Oh, you work your way backwards, right?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just making sure because I also got that from the book that I was reading.
Oh yeah. A lot of people talk about that.
Yeah. So, were you gonna expand on that?
Yeah, I was gonna have you, unless you don't want to. If
Well,
you
that's
guys
kind
haven't
of the point,
noticed,
so-
I'm more talkative.
Well, it's pretty much like what he said. Like it takes some time. Actually, I'm kind of in this moment right now. I guess the past couple weeks, like I've kind of stopped making content like I was before because I'm trying to evaluate like where I'm at and what I want my destination to be. And there's different, like, you know, when you set goals, like there's like weekly goals or monthly goals and 5-year goals and 10-year goals and stuff like that. And like one of the questions that was prompted from the book I was reading was, where do you want to be in 10 years? And I'm like, you know what, I really don't know. Like, I know what I want, like, I guess, you know, kind of surfacey in my head, but like the best version of myself, like, what do I want to be in 10 years? So that takes a lot of reflection, and I haven't really reached that part yet of knowing. And for me, that involves prayer and just really listening, and really just doing some self-reflecting. And so like knowing my goal, I need to know my goal first before I start to work my way back. And but another good example is, like, I wrote a book. I have a first draft of a book. So if you're like an author, if you want to write a book, you have the goal, writing a book. But then you have to know the steps in between of, like, okay, well, between starting the book and then having the book physically published in your hands. So what's all in between there? And so it's easy to, like, okay, you have your book published. Well, what did you need to get it published? Well, there's a lot of steps that I don't even know. But like getting like a publisher again, then getting an editor, and then writing the draft.
But the difference though is,
I don't know if that makes sense, but
you didn't just go, oh well, I can't get those yet, so I won't start. You started it still though.
Yeah, I started.
And I would say another thing with knowing where you're at is knowing, like you're talking about self-reflecting. I think that's a big thing of one of the things you learn with self-reflecting is the hurdles that you need to overcome. Like one big one that I know I have is fear of failure. I think a lot, and even some people have fear of success. Like, but I think the fear of success is, if I do this, will it work out? But also, how many times? It's still, I think, a failure of failure. I think it still comes back to that, at least for me, and a fear of what other people think. And I know one big thing from books that we've read, people we listen to, and our coach, is that a lot of times the fears that we have or the thoughts in our head aren't even our own. Meaning, obviously, we as Christians, we do believe that, that there is, a spiritual realm and things of that nature. But even if you're not Christian, a lot of times mentally we are worried what other people think, and they're not even our own thoughts. Meaning, like, you're worried about what your mom thinks, what your father thinks. Your expectations are a lot of times held by other people. When sometimes those people aren't even expecting that or know you have those expectations. If you guys haven't noticed, I mentioned some guys called the Roommates Podcast, or the Roommates, Hafiz and Chris, 2 guys that I support that are YouTubers as well. They had a...
By the way, I support them too.
Yes, I'm sorry. We have, I talk with them on a weekly basis and stuff.
I've never spoken with them, but I support them.
And she will soon, I'm sure. We just do our coaching during the day when she's at work. And they had a session and a video on there with a guy who is a coach, and he kind of talked about how when we have other people, like, we hold these expectations that other people don't even know we hold, and it restricts that relationship. But then even more, like, when we finally go to them and talk about it, they probably don't even know that you are thinking this certain way. Even like our parents, like, we think that if we do this, our parents are going to be upset, and sometimes it's not even the case, but it's because of hurts and things in the past. And so that's a lot of the hurdles that I'm overcoming, is fear of failure, fear of what other people think, and just getting over that and moving forward. And also, like, not getting overwhelmed by the massive amount of, I think, big picture. And so when I think big picture, it causes me to get overwhelmed with what can happen and what can happen, both good and bad, and I see the entire spectrum, and then I'm just like, well, there's the whole thing, screw it, I just won't do anything. Which intentionally makes me a true failure because I'm not even trying. Lady, quit. My dog is licking me.
She's a really cute dog.
And so that's part of it. What, lady? I think we talked about people who inspire us.
You wanna know what my biggest hurdle is?
Yes, I was actually about to get to that.
It's like probably really surfacey compared to yours, but it's scheduling. Like,
well, we have those. So, like, it's still a hurdle. Like, of planning.
I mean, I know. It's just really irritating. I keep everything in my head.
Okay, so I'm very organized. I'm very, like,
and I appreciate that.
where she kind of just flies by the seat of her pants, and I
Yeah.
can't stand it.
I mean, it's gotten me this far.
But it's helped me because with you, it's good because you'll take action. You will jump. You will start something. You'll get into it.
Yeah.
But then you start too many things sometimes because you're like that. Where with me,
Well,
I get overwhelmed and don't start. I plan a bunch, but then I don't execute like I
you
need
know
to.
what's really gotten in my way? Well, I say this, that sounds really bad. I could fly by the seat of my pants before and be successful. But
But
then
now
we
that
had
you're-
3 kids.
Well, yeah.
So now it's like I'm
That's
flying
our
by the seat of my
perspective.
pants
Like
on steroids, flying by the seat of my pants, because you get distracted. Like, I fly by the seat of my pants and I might like
Excuse
go
me.
this way to reach my goal, but now it's like, now I have the kids. Like,
Yeah.
you know that meme
Well, and that helps
where that
no.
never mind. It's okay.
Is it a bad meme?
No, it's what's his name? I think Nicolas Cage, the one that our friend posted on Facebook, where it was like, when you're in the middle of doing like 380 million things and your kids ask for a snack and there's like fire all around you, like destruction all
I
around
know.
you.
I think
And
you're
you're
talking about, but I
like-
don't remember it.
And you're like, okay, fine, or whatever. If you know that meme, comment and tell me that you know this meme, so I just didn't say this really pointlessly.
And so I kind of want to go. I think we're gonna probably make this a 2 episode because it's a
Part
big topic for me.
2.
Part 2.
Because
But
I talked about the meme.
no, that's not why. Sometimes it's hard to fit everything in 15 minutes when it's kind of a big topic for me because I want to kind of go into, like, we talked a lot about us personally, and then kind of that aspect of because of having the kids, and I kind of want to go into more detail of like the perspectives of the husband, the father, the mother, and the
Yeah.
wife. I think I got that right. But for me, I can say this when it comes from the male side. For me, like one thing is I think he called it one of my buddies called it OADD. I wrote it. Let me see.
He's looking in his book. Why don't you show them the book that you're looking at?
I will. Nope, that's the next chapter. Nope, this is the right. Oh, occupational
This is
attention
where we
deficit
cut.
disorder.
Oh.
Yeah, we'll probably cut there.
What was it?
Occupational attention deficit disorder, and it's this idea that you jump from one thing to the next. Or with me, I've done that, but I haven't continually
Yeah.
kept with it.
Yeah.
Because I do
And
have a lot
then-
of interests
And
a lot
then
of
you
things.
feel like you haven't finished
Done
it-
anything,
done
yeah,
anything,
and I feel like a
you
failure.
feel like a failure.
Yeah.
So
That
it
comes from this
constantly-
book. I've talked about it in our first video, Man Up. Scott Schuler. He's an awesome guy. And so that's one thing. But the other thing is from the man side is the failure of kick the camera. The failure of fear of not just failure, but fear in general. I think we as husbands let fear in very easily personally to ourselves. And this isn't just a man side, but fear of, am I going to be a good enough father? Fear of, am I a good enough husband? Have I spent enough time and attention with them? Have I given them what they need? Have I prayed over them? Have I loved on them? Have I shown them as a father what it is to be loving and be caring and protective? Have I shown my son what it is to have strength as a man, but then how we can take that strength and make it loving? Like, my son loves wrestle, but then
Wrestle.
Wrestle. No, wrestle.
How is it spelled?
I don't care how it's spelled. We're from Oklahoma.
I've lived here my whole life and I don't say wrestle.
That's because your family's from New York.
But
Yes, I win.
no.
So, fear
There's
of
no
failure.
New York accent here.
But fear of failure and fear of what others think. That's my two biggest as from it. A lot of that fear comes from my parents and from seeing how much failed, but also what are other men who have made it successfully going to think if I don't? We get all that in our head a lot. So, but from do you have from a wife or a mother's perspective, of some of the hurdles that you've over? I can say one. I know one big one was with the kids. You were really worried about, if we're trying to follow our dreams, worried about
Neglecting them.
the kids.
I'm always afraid of neglecting them. I'm afraid of not spending quality time with them, because I know growing up and this is no bash against my parents at all. My parents were there for me the best way they could be, but they were heavily involved with the ministry, and they both worked full-time jobs. And when I was younger, it was my grandma who took me to school. It was my grandma. I stayed home at her house and stuff like that until my parents got home, or until I was old enough to ride the bus and stay home by myself. So I always want to make sure that I'm there for my kids, and they feel like that I'm there for them. So that is a big hurdle.
Yeah, because you didn't want you've seen what it is for parents not to be there, even though it's a different situation. But you didn't want to be that mom that pursued her career so much that she wasn't there for them. And
right, and like I wanted to make sure my priorities were straight. You know, even though like I'm my goals, even though they're like for me, it's for them. But you know, I don't want my kids to say, well, I don't really see my mom that much because she's so busy.
But we've also learned, like from our coach, that when we sacrifice, make sure you still have that time planned out for them. But it doesn't have to be like 2 hours every single day, like forever. Like you can have that hour a day, but then like the other thing that I know from somebody who I listen to, everyone will probably know this if I say it, but what are you doing from 7 p.m. after the kids are down,
That's
done,
true,
to 12 o'clock at night?
Yeah.
Most people are watching Netflix, you know, playing video games. Now, if you're reading a book, if you're journaling, if you're doing things that are self-improving yourself, I think that's awesome. That's great. But don't make excuses for you not to work on your business or your dream that you have when there are times that you can. But we as a society says, oh, well, I need downtime. Well, if you're truly trying to find your dream, it should be something you love to do. And so if you're working on it, it shouldn't be, like, stressful in a sense because it's a goal and a dream you want, you love doing. Like, for me, I like doing. I like talking, just being honest. And so another big thing, I actually did have it right now, is calendar prepping. With a family and with kids, you've got to plan your weeks out. And so we still struggle with it at times because different things come up, we forget things, we do a bunch. And so we're learning to cut back in the sense of, is this necessary? Like, we have swim lessons on Monday at the moment, or we take them to the pool and the gym we go to. We are trying to have a workout at least 3 times a week. At least that's me. You know, I work at nights. So there was a lot of stuff that, like, was really hard. And one thing that we used to do is when we couldn't change a situation that was hard for us, like me working overnights from Wednesday to Sunday morning. This is for me. I think she did too a little bit, but it was more me that I stressed a ton about getting off the night shift.
Yeah.
And we finally came to a point, like, it's not going to change right now. Like, it's not. And so we just have to be like, you know what? Once January comes of next year and I can do a shift bid, unless something else happens, cool. If that happens, great. But let's just plan up until then.
Yeah.
And so that's a big thing. Money is another hurdle, I think, as a family trying to pursue your dreams. We've actually started now selling stuff on Facebook Marketplace. If you need money for your goal or for your dream, there's ways to find it. But also, this kind of goes with the knowing where you're at. We understand that we can't push a bunch of money into any kind of business or extra money into a business. Like, we're doing Young Living Essential Oils. That's something that we've taken a step back a little bit because, and I like this part, she's actually willing to take a step back from that to help me pursue what I feel like I want to do.
Yeah. Taking a step back, meaning I used to hold classes every single week. And then I found out, which was helpful, but with all the stuff that we were doing,
we couldn't get enough plan to invite and work on it every single week.
Right, and so it's like still doing the business, but doing it in a different way. That's what's so flexible about multi-level marketing is you can do so many avenues of how to reach people. And so instead of me reaching people while physically hosting classes at home, it's
well, you're still, it's just put it into our lifestyle. But it's not that you've taken a step back, but you've taken a step back to take a step forward. Because a lot of times we get overwhelmed, like, well, if I step back from this, I'm going to be a failure. I mean, like, a lot of people's fears, if I take a step back from this, I'll quit. You know, you will only quit if, like, you have that mindset, you stop trying to do it. So I feel like if you work on taking that step back in order to plan to do better in the future, because maybe you're doing too much and you need to gather yourself. So, but yeah, so calendar prepping is a big thing. Planning your months out, planning your weeks out, plan all that stuff. Budgeting your finances, where you at, like just a lot of the where you're
all
at.
the grown up stuff.
Yeah, And just coming from that perspective of a father, a husband, and a mother and a wife, of understanding that we can't always jump into what we want to do right away. And that's where so one of my last things I talk about with being at Hurdles is being okay with where you're at, and that it's going to take time and being patient. Like, I'm 28. I'm not even 30 yet. Like, it's okay if I don't start doing my major thing until I'm 35. I still have 25 years till I'm 60. I can still keep doing it after that, especially if it's something that I love.
And one thing to go with that is,
sorry.
It's really neat because I've learned it both in this journey of like reading books and then also at church. Is this has both come up in both situations? Is fall in love with the journey.
Yeah.
Fall in love with the process.
Love the pain. Like embrace the suck.
Yeah,
That's a big one.
And that really is what it is. And if you haven't experienced that, it sounds like dreary and something that you probably don't want to do. But that's where the most growth comes, and that is the most rewarding thing. Like I can attest to that. Because
when you find out what you love to do, and then you fall in love with the pain of it, you know it's going to happen, and like the struggle. And there's a video I actually want you to watch, and it'd be great for you guys to watch, from Gary Vee. He has a ton, so it's kind of hard to find exactly. I don't know which one it was for sure, but he's talking to this another, I think, corporate type guy who has a business and whatnot. And they talked about that a little bit, about when you learn to embrace the struggle of the journey, of pushing through the pain and whatnot, you fall in love with it because you fall in love with the journey. Not the end result, but the journey to get there.
Yeah.
Then you appreciate that when you get there even more, and then you keep, because like once you get there, you're like, we as humans want to keep moving forward. So the other thing you talked about is learning to love criticism.
That's probably
whether
it's difficult for me.
Good or bad.
I'm a sensitive person.
But when you fall in love with criticism, two things happen, and even when, especially, when you fall in love with criticism, you learn that it's okay to fail, because when you fail, or when something doesn't work out, I don't want to say fail, when something doesn't work out, there's always a reward. You either gain, like if you don't fail, or if you succeed through it, you succeeded. If you didn't, you've learned from what you've just done how to do the next thing even better. Instead of looking like, man, I made a mistake, like, man, hey, I didn't know how to do this correctly. This didn't work out, but now I know. So it's always like having that positivity mindset. Even criticism is positive.
Yeah.
And I think that's another big thing that we as humans aren't great at, because society feeds off of negativity. I recommend going and watching Kevin Hart and Joe Rogan did an interview, and Kevin Hart talks about positivity. It's sad that our society is driven by negativity so much, more than positivity. And it's really funny. You guys will enjoy it. I like Kevin Hart. He's funny. But just his message of being positive is really good in that. So I recommend watching that. It's like 2 hours, though. So
wow.
Yeah, it's a big interview.
Tell me about that.
I just found it the other night at work. So that's just some things. I hope you guys can take something from what we talked about, whether it's some of the hurdles we overcome, some of the things that we dealt with or are dealing with. One big thing that I'll leave you guys with is, in the journey that you're on, or whatever you're trying to get to, or what the process that you're in, enjoy it, but also understand it's going to be one step at a time. I'm really having to understand that, and it's okay. Just figure out what you can do to improve on the next thing, the next day, like continually, day after day after day, and be patient. I'm not patient, and that's a big thing. So I hope you guys enjoyed us talking about it. If you guys want to follow us anymore, look us up on Instagram. Our first name and our last name will probably be able to find us the quickest. Go ahead also, hopefully you subscribe. I hate that whole subscribe, like, and comment. I prefer you to subscribe so you can see more. You can like it if you want, great, but comment. Like, I want to get to know who all out there is watching us. If it's just saying, hey, I watched it, if your family, whoever it is, because I know people are watching it somewhat. When it says we have 40 views, I'm like, okay, 40 people have seen it somewhat. They probably don't, because like the first 10 seconds. I don't know. But I hope you enjoyed it.
Like, nope, never mind.
Never mind. I'll probably have me jumping in and kind of breaking it up. It won't be like, okay, guys, here's the second episode. It'll just be broken up, But I hope you guys enjoyed it. Also, we're working on lighting as what I'm learning,
Oh my
cameras, and whatnot. And I enjoy it.
I'm just
She's
gonna
annoyed by it.
No, it's not that. These videos, we know the quality, so
I don't care, they
we
suck.
appreciate you watching them. Like the last one was in our bedroom, and my eyes were like blacked out. The
Her eyes are a little
shadows,
better now, but
we know it's terrible, but
bear with us.
yes,
Faith.
give us much love, and we will get better equipment. We know what good quality looks like.
It's
we
just having the
don't
ability to
have
do
the
it.
good quality. So I mean, we're both artists. We know.
So
what
like
good
I was
quality
saying, like, subscribe, and comment. We hope you guys enjoyed some of the stuff we talked about. If you guys have a comment, and even like I said, if it's, hey, look into this to make things better, just comment whatever it is. We'd appreciate it. I hope you all have a great day, and we look forward to talking to you guys again. See you guys.